Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Jagriti Pandey and I am the co-organizer for Design Jungle and I'm also the co-founder of UX Gorilla. And today we are collaborating for this event with Design Sundays. And this is, I think, the fourth event in our product series and where we are bringing out design experts, product experts, and talk about skills, hacks, techniques, which can help you advance your career. Today we have with us Sahil Pandita, who is a product designer with Gojek. He is the creative hustler who has his own YouTube channel called The Creative Hustle. And he has been mentoring startups for almost 4 or 5 years now. And he's a regular speaker at many design events. His work is super solid. And his vision with his YouTube channel and his work is to reach as many as UX beginners as possible. He's all about sharing with the community. And he has worked with Rivigo and Ibibo in past, and we are glad he's today with us. So I'm inviting him, and let's have him. Hi,
Hey, hi,
Sahil.
Jack.
So glad to have you.
Yeah, what's up? How are you doing?
Good. It's going good. So I think today we are talking about something which is really relevant. Last week, Rohan, who is the founder for Design Sundays, he actually took a session which was on portfolio, and we thought it would be a really nice extension to have somebody who do portfolios, break down with us. And I know that for those of you who are just tuning in, I must tell you, we have done a lot of groundwork on the background. We have prepared a checklist. Sahil has been diligently working on some presentations and checklists for you guys. So please stay tuned till the end. You guys can also enter your comments, which we will take up in AMA. And for now, I am going to hand it over to Sahil. So yes, Sahil, take it away.
All right, you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, guys, yeah, I mean, just to set up some ground sort of context here before starting this, I think portfolio again is one of those basic things that everyone asks for, especially from designers, right? It is your identity. It's pretty much who you are online. It's your virtual presence, and it's one of the most important aspects of your identity when someone's considering hiring you, right? So I think that is what makes portfolio for designers truly important. And I think everyone should be aware of the things that they're trying to do while they're trying to build their portfolio, things that they put in their portfolio, and a lot more. And the reason why we're doing this session is just for that, so that we can go through some of these tips and tricks and maybe some advice that I've sort of accumulated over time. And I've gone through a couple hundred portfolios on the way while interviewing, while designing my own portfolio over all this time, and suggesting portfolios to my friends, like really good portfolios. So this is just a session to discuss all of those points. So yeah, I'll also be sharing this Notion doc with you. You can basically, after this session ends, you can go through it and also see the things that we talk about today again. And this will also help you understand the same topics, in depth. You can spend more time and try to see what exactly we're talking about. So starting with, before you start building your portfolio, some of the things that we want to sort of highlight on. So the first one's going to be choosing a project. Again, this is something that's one of the starting blockers while trying to build a portfolio again. And this is a very critical point, because this is where half of the people leave. When you're trying to build a portfolio, there are a couple of things I should be looking for, right? The first one that I generally look for is, how good is the problem itself, right? And as the line also here says, not all projects and problems are created equally. So you might feel that the problem that you're trying to solve, or not solve, you've probably already solved the problem, that the problem that you're trying to speak about or you're trying to create a portfolio about might not be that important, but it might come off to you as something that's important. Now, the way to test these things is to talk about those problems. It can either be to your friends or to your mentors, or if you don't have mentors, you can talk about these to your colleagues. And that also helps sort of break down if the problem that you're trying to focus is big enough and crucial enough for you to spend a lot of time writing your case study on. Because at the end of the day, your time is also important, and you don't want to spend it on smaller things that will not give you enough leverage. The next one is, again, there's a bunch of questions that you want to that I also want to highlight while talking about this. The first one's going to be, why is the problem important? Why do you think the problem that you're trying to solve is important, either to your either to the particular people that are talking about, or also for you as a person, right? The next one's going to be what does it tell about who I am, right? So when you try to work on a case study, when you try to work on any problem, what kind of image are you portraying in front of the viewer or the user? The user being probably a hiring manager, or maybe someone who is also trying to go through your portfolio. It can be on any social platform. The next one is what skill do I wish to show in my process and project? As product designers, we have a bunch of skills that we use on a day-to-day basis. It can be user research, it can be visual design, it can be UX design, it can be designing architecture for a particular product, or things like that. This is something that we also need to be mindful about whenever we do take up a new project, or if we want to create a new case study. What are some of these things that we want to talk about, and what skill do we want to show? Do we want to show how good our visual design is? Do we want to show how good our UX design is, or how critical is our sort of understanding of concepts of business or something around that? So it's also
Sahil,
important to understand these things as well as you can. Jagriti, do you have any question?
yes, yes. Actually, can you zoom it in a little bit? I'm sorry, I was not trying to interrupt, but yes, this would be helpful. I think a little bit. Yes, then it's
Was it good?
VW. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So yeah. So make sure that your problem is valid. Once you do start working on it, make sure the problem that you're trying to do, you understand it really well, because people will ask more and more questions around why do you think this problem was important. When you do go through these portfolio reviews, in companies, when you're trying to show it to other designers, they will ask questions around what makes you feel that this is a possible solution, or these are the possible set of solutions for this problem. So I would recommend spending some time on the problem itself so that you can understand it really well. Again, don't fall in love with the problem that you've highlighted, but at least spend good enough time so you're very clear of all the concepts, of all the touch points that the problem is focused around. The second one is start with a tool that you're familiar with. Again, a very big stepping point. This is something that I've previously struggled as well. uh, a tool is something that is supposed to augment your workflow. As Thomas Carlyle also said, man is a tool using animal. Without tools he's nothing, with tools he's all. Now it's just not some random blabber. This is actually a very critical concept, because every time you start, whenever you get thoughts, you need some form of tool or some form of a product to sort of materialize those thoughts. You need to write it down. Now a tool can be as simple as a pen and a pencil, or something as complex as what I'm using right now, which is Notion. Now, it depends on how and what you feel comfortable with when you're trying to think of all these things. So the idea is to reduce as much friction as you can. Whenever you come with an idea, the the most weird, or probably not the most weird, but I think one of the most friction inducing things that I've seen people doing while designing case studies is making it on Sketch. The problem with that is when you start designing writing a case study, especially writing down text and articulating your design decisions and things like that, on a product like Sketch, or maybe Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever you use, or Figma. The problem with that is that the tool is not really supposed to be for text. So it's going to be difficult for you to be constantly like writing things down and editing things, because the purpose of that tool is different. It is something that's easy to do, and I understand where you're coming from, because I've personally been a victim of the same thing. I've been doing that for a long period of time. I would make my case studies in Sketch because I would think that it was easy. But something that I've recently started doing is I would put all the information that I want to see, all the ideas that I have, all the goals, the whatever research I've done, probably on maybe a Google Doc, or a Notion, or whatever suits you, whatever you like. But if it's text, try to keep it on a tool that supports it really well, so you can do things fast. You don't have to initially start thinking of how the layout should be. Should I already start putting it in with 8 pixel margin and things like that? So those things should not get in your way when you start thinking of what do you want to write. So again, start a tool that you're comfortable with. Do not try to use a tool that you're not comfortable with, or just adopt a new tool altogether while you're trying to start something new. The third one is gathering data. Again, data and insights are the hero of your story. They're the fundamental building blocks of a problem, a case study, right? the data and insights tell about how did you approach a particular case study, how did you what were the problems that you actually focused on, and whatever research you did, what was the anecdotes that you got from the user that also build up to that particular story. So it's a really important aspect of it should be a really important aspect of your case study, wherein you talk about what were the things that you considered while taking decisions, what were the things that you kept in mind while you're trying to design an interface, maybe just the articulation of what exactly is there on the screen, or simple things like that. But again, at the same time, you also need to think of something that's really important, which is there a thing as too much data? And trust me, there is. And this is something that, again, people suffer from a lot. You'll see people putting in, okay, actually, let me just, yep, I think this is better. Yeah. So you'll see people putting a lot of information, a lot of research studies and all those things inside their inside their portfolio, and sometimes it becomes really difficult to consume all of that content, because as much as you understand the problem, the viewer in front of you might not understand it that well. And when you flood them with all of that data, with all of that information, it's going to be really difficult for them to go through it, and it also makes your portfolio extremely lengthy. And again, that is one of the important aspects of your portfolio as well, because you also want to have a portfolio that's small, that's compact, and you're able to quickly scan through it, or skim through it, or the viewer is able to do that quickly. Now, here are some of the questions that you should probably ask yourself when you start putting these things down in your portfolio, specifically talking about data. What does this data tell about the users? You've probably seen hundreds of times people put personas and anecdotes from the users and things like that. And I mean, I think personally we've all been, again, victim to this. Earlier in our career, we would think that putting user personas and all those things are important. It's not. It depends on what exactly you're doing. You don't always need to create a user persona. Sometimes things are just understood, and in some cases, the problem that you solved did not require you to create a user persona. You did not do that research. So think of it like this, right? Every single portfolio should narrate, or every single case study should narrate sort of its own story. Not every single case study needs to have a persona. And not just persona, a lot of these different steps that we follow throughout the design journey, you might have worked on them, but you don't necessarily need to put every single thing on your portfolio, because that can complicate things a lot. The next one is, how is this helpful to the project? Again, the same question, more or less. Do you think that the data that you're trying to show is actually helpful to the project? Is it going to help the user understand, what value does it have? The third part, will it really help them understand any aspect of the research that you've done well? If not, figure out ways that you can take it away from the project. Again, the fourth one being, is there a simpler way of showing this data? I think one of the things that can be done while you are, you probably would have put a lot of effort while you're trying to design your portfolio, but something that you also need to consider is the time that the viewer or the hiring manager or whoever is there who's going through your portfolio has, right? And sometimes it's very difficult, especially considering the fact that the person might have like a couple thousand portfolios or maybe hundreds of portfolios right next to them, and having to go through such huge lengths of data and lines in your case study, it's very difficult for them to take a decision, and they can get confused and like right away just reject something just because they don't have the time. And that's the worst place to be in. So yeah, if you still want to show your viewers the blueprints and the block of the grand plan of yours, the big research doc that you've written or whatever, you could probably keep it somewhere else. That's one of the best things that you can do. And it's not just for research, it's also for iterations and designs and things like that. You can have like a different collection of all these things, of all these you can have a collection of all these different data points of the research, of insights and reports. What have you written? Just keep it away, and you can just hyperlink it right inside your case studies. For example, if it's a Medium case study or if it's Behance, you can still put in links that will take users to the questionnaire, to the insights, to the report, or whatever you want. So at their own discretion, if they want to go inside it, they can do that. So that should perfectly suit their needs as well. The next one is, again, Mediums. Yeah, I've not written something on Mediums, but again, this is something that I also want to talk about. Medium is also one of the most important things. uh, people spend a lot of time contemplating on what kind of medium should they post their user studies in. This is something that again I have also faced, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us people has have faced this. We spend a lot of time researching, what is the right website for hosting our portfolio, what is the best theme in Webflow or in WordPress or whatever tool you use, or maybe even like third party tools, trying to compare which one's the best. Then you look at price, and then you're like, okay, this is not something I want to do. Does it even have that ROI for me if I host my portfolio on something like this? Something that honestly a lot of designers and personally that I've also not cared about is where your portfolio is hosted. It's perfectly fine as long as I get to access it right away without any issues. I'm more than happy to take a look at your portfolio, and I would love to go through it and give you feedback on whatever it is. And again, as a hiring manager, that is also something that you need to think of. You do not want to make the process of finding your portfolio and accessing it with a lot of friction, because that is where they'll drop off. I would not recommend not to keep passwords and things like that. Again, uh, if it's a case study that has data that's sensitive and all those things, you probably want to keep a password and all those things on it. But I think again, try to reduce as many steps as you can for the viewer, so that they can quickly go through your portfolio as well. So medium doesn't matter. Feel free to pick whatever you want. Honestly, I've seen people hosting, I don't want to vouch for Notion too much, but I've honestly seen people hosting their portfolio on Notion, which is a note taking doc. So it's okay, you can do whatever you want when it comes to medium, so you don't have to get stressed out about mediums at all. The next one is scannable. Again, this is something we've already anyway touched upon, but I'm going to dive deep into it. A portfolio should feel like a portfolio. It should not feel like a photo album or a high school thesis. Again, something that I've been a victim of. I've spent a lot of time personally writing and articulating my design decisions and things like that, and that would end up making my portfolios look so big. It would be like 37, 38 page portfolios for a single problem. So it's a crazy amount of data that you have to go through. And something that I realized, and I showed all of my portfolios to my friends, all of the case studies that I'd worked on, and I got feedback from them as well. And again, the same thing that I would hear is, why is this portfolio, why does it have so much information? Can't you just make it smaller? We just want to be able to quickly go through it. It should be scannable, it should be skimmable. We don't have the time to go through hundreds and thousands of lines of text. So what I would recommend is, again, being humans, being visual creatures, try to make your portfolio as much visual as you can. Try to put in as many pictures, as many sort of graphs and things like that you can, to crunch down that text into things that can be easily visualized. Because I mean, we all know that when we have a lot of text in front of us, we generally skim through it so that we can quickly get an understanding of what exactly it's talking about. And by virtue of nature, that is something that we do even on a subconscious level. So even if people want to go through your portfolio, they will just skim through it. So if you do make it easy for them to skim through all of the details, you'll be sparing them a lot of effort, you'll be sparing them a lot of time. And yeah, I think that's something that we all appreciate. The next one is treat it like a product. This is one of the most important things that people forget about. Portfolios are nothing but small products that you create as a designer, and you should treat it like that. And we do the double diamond design method everywhere, right? Why not put that on our portfolios, right? Because I mean, it's so essential, it's just so important to the design process itself. If we talk about portfolio as a product, I think that would put us in a way better spot. Think of why it's a product. You treat your portfolio as the same way that you do your product. You understand your target audience, you understand the goals and pain points, you define the scope. After that, you iterate and design solutions. One thing that people forget to do is test it with users, and based on that, you iterate with feedback and repeat it till you just get it right. I think this is something that you should all be following as a part of portfolio. Something I've seen a lot of people do, and something that I've also previously done for a lot of my previous projects, is I would make a portfolio and that's it. Just put it on Behance and done. That's the end of that portfolio. But what I came to realize over a lot of this time is, you should be spending more time actually researching on portfolios. Again, treat it like a product. First of all, you need to do is understand who your target audience is. In general, your target audience is either HRs or hiring managers, or in some cases, designers for small startups. Think of what they look for. Think of how can you make it easy for them to understand your case study or your problem statement, right? So think around those aspects. Based on that, start making like not designs, but start devising solutions that you think would help them quickly scan through all that information. And it's okay to test like a couple of like different versions of your portfolio, just like you do for UIs, for for login screens and things like that. You do a couple of iterations. Why not try that for your portfolio? Why not frame it in one way and then other way, just to see how people understand it, just to see how people react to it, right? And then is when the iteration or the that's when the the iteration, that's when the testing loop also comes in, feedback loop comes in. This is one of the most important aspects. You should be sharing your portfolio with your friends. It can be with colleagues at work, other designers, or if you feel like or if you cannot find a lot of people around you who are designers, you can reach out to people on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me, to Rohan, to Jagriti, and we would be more than happy to give you feedback in whatever time we have on your portfolio. If that's something that you can probably act upon, that would help you create a better version of your portfolio. Again, repeat till you get it right. And I hate to say it, but there is no right. You will keep making, you'll probably get stuck on this loop of creating portfolios. But there is a certain point in which you'll be happy with your portfolio. You'll be like, this I think solves all of those problems. I've been able to answer all the questions that people had. Any places that people would not be able to understand what exactly I'm doing, this has been able to take care of all of them. And that is what generally defines what a good portfolio should be. It should work well with your viewers, your target audience, hiring managers, product designers, or whosoever your target audience is. The next one is storytelling. One, again, a pretty important aspect. So we all spend a lot of time doing a lot of research, a lot of it's probably like research. Spend a lot of time doing research around how we can even design our portfolio in certain cases, which is pretty good. You should be doing research around understanding what do people do and how do they make their portfolios and things like that. But something that I've seen lately is that following that particular sort of design approach, the diamond design method, or whatever you like to follow, it makes your projects look like crazy similar. Like every single project is going to look exactly same. Trust me, you should not be doing that, right? You should not let your process or your thought process or your design process narrate the story. Your story itself should be your anecdotes, your work that you've actually done should recite the story of that portfolio, right? So what you want to do is try to find the story, of that particular problem that you solved. And this can happen in various ways. For example, something that you can do, which is I find very easy, is you can refer to what the people have said. You can get their reviews, you can get their feedback, the things that they've said right away. Like one of the things that I personally like to do is, especially for projects that you're not sure of and you don't have time for user research, go to Play Store and find what people are saying about your competitor and literally get those snippets, talk about them, and talk about why this is an essential problem to solve. And that would also help you build that story, right? And you need to have some hero in that story. It can be done through a narrative of introducing a particular character. Again, that's a very interesting aspect to look at it. What if you introduce a character in your story, right? And then you use that character to build up that story, that there's the guy X who keeps on doing something, and this is a problem that they face while doing that particular thing. Now, this is why we also realize that this is a big problem, because a lot of other people of his target audience, of that particular demographic, were also facing the same problem. So we realized it's a common problem, and this is what we did to make sure that people are able to do that same task, the X task, a little bit better. And this is how we designed their journey. This is how we fleshed out the solutions. So think about how can you narrate your story better, and don't let that particular format of writing define, develop, design, and whatever. Don't let that mess up your portfolio. It's good to follow initially, but I think at some point of time you definitely want to get rid of it and follow a proper story kind of like structure. And something that I really like is people who write extensively on Medium, by the virtue of its nature, by the virtue of the platform itself, tend to get over that over that particular construct of writing that just putting that framework of double diamond design method out there. So that's something that you also want to look at. Yeah, and the last part is be iterative. Again, is something that we've already covered. You want to be iterative when you start getting feedback. You want to keep updating things. Do not just make the first iteration of your portfolio, put it on Behance, and then put an end to it, because you've spent so much time on it. You might even spend a little bit more time fleshing it out and finessing it and making sure that it's the best portfolio that could make at that point of time. Something I would also recommend is, over time you get better, right? And over time you should be looking back at your old portfolios as well. I would not recommend like reworking on them or anything like that. That would be just crazy. But things as small as making the cover images of the portfolios look somewhat good, somewhat similar to the other projects that you create, and forming and getting that sense of consistency across. So yeah, keep updating your portfolios as you go on and as you learn more and more things. After that is set up timelines and deadlines. This is a very heavy topic. I think we keep telling ourselves, you know what, I'm gonna finish this portfolio over the next Sunday. I'll do it by the end of this month or by the end of this week. And it never happens. We pretty much never ever look at those things again. And I think that is what makes that is what makes it really difficult for us to finish that portfolio, because we always have this thing in mind that, you know what, I'm just going to put that this I'm going to work on this particular aspect of it more. I'm going to do this more, or talk about something like, I need to still do more research. I still need to put more insights into it or whatever. The best way to generally approach like a pragmatic approach to designing a portfolio would be to set up a timeline. Tell yourself that you have 1 week, and in that 1 week you want to finish with one particular aspect of it. Now that can be, I want to finish my initial, say, writing the background of the project. I want to finish the research part of it, or maybe just writing the insights and things like that, all collecting all the reports. That's what I want to do in the first week, and maybe give yourself a buffer of 1 or 2 days at max, wherein you want to test if this makes sense, maybe just closely with a couple of friends of yours. Then the second stepping stone or milestone could be where you start putting all these things together, like start sort of forming a layout or whatever you want to do, however you want to format it. After that, you could further spend more time in actually testing it. So you need to give yourself realistic timelines when it comes to managing your portfolio, managing the work that you've been doing better. And again, once you set deadlines, it also helps you keep track of how much time you've actually spent on portfolios, because you might be spending a lot of time, but it might not be worth it because you constantly keep on doing passive work on it, but you're not actually actively spending time on it. Something that really works, two small frameworks that really work well for time management, particularly that has done for me, is time boxing, which is basically you give yourself like, I'm going to do this in 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. And then working in that, giving yourself like a really tight deadline and trying to get out as much stuff as you can, and trying to put your ideas, your thoughts, whatever it is that you plan to do in that time, and put it out there. The second one is using a Pomodoro timer. This is something that I heavily use. Pomodoro timer is nothing but a timer. You can download any Pomodoro timer from Play Store or from App Store, or even on your laptops. It helps you divide time in smaller chunks. You have a 25-minute working session and then a 5-minute break, and then a 25-minute session again and a 5-minute break. It's fundamentally a very simple concept. It just helps you make sure that you stick to your work in that 25 minutes, and in those 5 minutes you do whatever you wish to do, whatever you want to do. You can spend your time watching Instagram, or maybe just going around for a walk or getting tea or whatever you want to do in those 5 minutes. And then again, in that 25 minutes you start working again. If 25 minutes feels a little less to you, you can increase that time by as much as you want. Eventually with time you'll be able to even work for like 2 or 3 hours straight, depending on how much time you personally feel that you can give to that particular project. And after that you can sort of make it a habit as well, and this in general helps us manage time better. So yeah, these are some of the techniques that I personally have used over time to make sure, not just for my portfolios but also for other things. If I have something that I'm working on, I would use these different frameworks to manage my time better. And yeah, that more or less sums up how what are the things that are very important when it comes to building portfolios, when it comes to basically looking at things you should be doing before you even think of building a portfolio. Again, these are a lot of steps, but I would recommend you go through these once again. uh, do not spend a lot of time again thinking about all these things and again going into that loop of analysis paralysis, because you will try to overanalyze stuff. That's also a part of our nature. We tend to overanalyze everything on our end, and then we do not take action on it. That is something that I also want to focus on, that you should not be doing that. Reduce friction as much as you can. When it comes to friction, it can be through different tools. Again, try to reduce as much friction as you can from writing things down, from uh, writing down your thoughts, writing down your feelings, or your research reports, or whatever this is. Try to reduce as much friction as you can in general from your life. That helps you flesh out things more quicker and makes you in general productive about things. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Let me check if we have anything else. So there's one portfolio structure this is work in progress. I am working on it. This is going to take slightly longer, so I will be sharing with all of you guys once this is live. And there's also a portfolio checklist. Um, this is more or less small set of things that you should ideally be focusing on. Again, I think we might have already walked over it, but I would still talk a little bit about this. So when you make your portfolios, there are some bits and bytes, some essential points that you should be mentioning in your portfolio. These are some of those things. Again, this is actually supposed to be a very exhaustive list. I'll be adding things as we go on again. You can visit upon this after the session is also over. The first one is project overview. This is nothing but the background. A lot of time what happens is the problem that you're trying to solve is simple and is easy to understand for you. But for the user, because they've never seen that problem, or because they've not been in the same sort of background or in the same area or the environment as you, they are not able to understand that problem well. And that also results in them dropping off from your portfolio or from that case study. The second one is deliverables. uh, Deliverables and your role is kind of like they tie sort of well together. This is something that you need to see from a point of view that when you start working on a portfolio, people want to know what did you do on that particular project. You might have written like a whole portfolio, and when it comes to sort of teams, people want to know what was your contribution. Did you do the UI design? Did you do the facilitation part? Did you do UX research? What parts of this case study did you actually work on? And that is something that's really critical, because again, as we focused on the first part, when we choose a project, you want to focus on which skill or which particular area of expertise do you want to focus on in that particular say case study. The next one is platform. Again, what platforms did you make the product on? Android, iOS, web. Also should be like talking about that, because there are small nuances that are only relevant to that particular to that particular problem. The next one is responsibilities. Again, we've already discussed this. Team, again, the same thing. You should also be if you've worked in a team and you did get a lot of help on that project, you should be clearly segmenting things that you've done versus your team has done. Or maybe if you don't want to like write it in detail, you can just tell that I was responsible for doing UX research for this project, and other people have helped me in build this whole case study, or whatever it is. The next one is learnings, takeaways. You want to write your learnings that were basically a part of the overall process of building this portfolio, or that product development life cycle. Over a period of time, when you build a product, there is a lot of things you learn, and this learning should not be the learnings that you get from making that portfolio. It should be the learnings that you actually got from the product while you were designing it. One of the most common faults that I see people is writing, this was a great experience for me, because this portfolio taught me so much more, or whatever. But I think this should generally focus on the learnings from building that product, not from building the case study for that particular product for that problem. The next one is business metrics and KPIs. People don't talk about it a lot, and in some cases it's okay. I mean, especially in smaller startups, when it's very difficult to track data and things like that, you should still be able to measure some aspects of performance, some aspects of adoption, acquisition towards users. You should be at the very base able to see how many users were using it and how many people are now using it, which is the most basic kind of data that you can get. And I'm sure that people in your company are getting it. It's just that you need to go out and ask the right people for it. The next one is post launch impact analysis. This is something that I've not seen in a lot of portfolios, and I've personally also not done this for a very long time because it was also very difficult for me to do it. But once you launch a product, once you launch a feature that's tied to a problem, you should think of what are the things that this has sort of made an impact on. You should be checking it, tracking it if you can from your end, and see what are the things that it did well for the project and what are the things that it did not. And again, based on that, you could probably start working on maybe the second version of that and tell about the failures, the successes that you had while you were working on this. So more or less, this is what are the different things that should basically go inside your portfolio when you're trying to make it. And that's sorry, that's the portfolio checklist. I think there's a couple more points I more or less covered before this. Medium doesn't matter. We've already gone through it. Not every problem case study is same. Again, following design diamond, double diamond design method in every single case study, making everything look same is a little boring. I think the story itself should narrate how that particular sort of piece, that particular case study looks like, and don't really default to a particular layout, right? I mean, go on and experiment with different layouts. Go on and experiment with different things, that are like different ways of putting the same solution, different ways of showing the same data and all those things together. And show your iterations. This is really important. And again, this is something that I've also missed a lot in the past. You should be, because of the virtue of its nature, the design process, any design process you follow, sorry, has iteration as a part of it. So you want to spend more time on working, you want to spend more time on actually making sure that you also show the iterations. You might not want to have all of the iterations like listed right away, but you want to have them somewhere, like maybe in a doc, maybe in a sketch file, your Figma file, or wherever you want to keep them, but have your iterations. And yeah, talk about your process, but overdo it, but don't overdo it. Same thing that we talked about previously. Make sure that you write down all the important bits and bytes of it, but don't overdo it, man. Like don't make like a 30-40 page long portfolio. It's not worth it. People don't have that kind of time, and people will actually people will just skip it altogether. And document everything. When you start working on a problem, make sure that you start putting in effort to document it right from that point on, because after you've spent a lot of time on it already, it becomes really difficult for you to get all those insights and data that you had previously worked on. And it's very difficult to also go and approach people, after a very long time. They also have a hard time keeping track of all these things. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm also working on like a portfolio scorecard wherein you can analyze and assess your portfolios. And really sorry, my throat is dry. Yeah, so a portfolio scorecard that's going to help you see how would you value your portfolio and how you'd rank your portfolio, and over time you can refer to it. We'll be pushing it out sometime soon. For the dates, you can track me on social or whatever feels good to you. And also working on a portfolio building masterclass. Again, this is going to be something that's coming out soon. But yeah, apart from that, I think that's probably it. One more thing for you that's definitely going to help you is this collection of resources. And these are not just three portfolios, awesome portfolios. And this portfolio design sort of collection by Brian Lovin is one of the biggest portfolio collections that you'll see online. This has a crazy amount of great portfolios that over time, Brian Lovin and I don't remember the name of the other person, they've put together. And these are really great portfolios for you to refer to. If at any point of time you feel like you're not sure what direction you should be taking, refer to these portfolios, please. They'll help you a lot. and also Hardik is a friend. He works for Google, and his portfolio also helps understanding how to break down concepts into smaller parts and looking at it from the point of view that if a researcher, sorry, not a researcher, a design recruiter wants to go through it, what are the things that are important to them? Yep. I think that's it, Jagriti. That's more or less the whole doc that we wanted to go through. And do you want to come in back again so we can start? Any questions we have so far, actually?
Yeah, I am here, and with us we also have Rohan. And yeah, we just okay. So someone asked the question: is following design trends a good way when designing a good portfolio? Are there some trends you would recommend? Yeah.
So, okay, so from my perspective, I think you should take away some of the value from these design trends because they are there for a reason, but don't stick to like a particular design trends. Uh, the I think the construct of a portfolio is, again, it revolves around the story. So your story should be the hero of your portfolio, not the form. The function is what basically should define the form as well. And following design trends, again, it has its own. I mean, see, this is like a love-hate relationship. Whenever you follow a design trend, you know that this will go out of trend very, very soon. So in that
Okay.
case, are you sure that you want to come back again and then redesign it according to the new layout? That is something that's really difficult. So something that really works in this case is, you see people putting case studies on Medium. There is no design to it. It's literally the function or the text that basically narrates your story. I think that's one of the best ways to look at it because you won't have to come back and redesign this again. But yeah,
True.
that's my 2 cents on this.
True.
What do you guys think, Jagriti and Rohan?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And also, as I think the best thing that you said there was that if you are following a trend, what happens is that people also at that time, the design recruiters may actually judge you based on your knowledge of trends. So let's say if you're following something which is, if you're not following a design trend or if you're following a design trend which is not trending right now, they may actually feel that this person, he or she is not aware of the current design trend.
Yep,
But
yep,
if
yep.
something is very simple, so it always works. I mean, I kind of think of portfolio in the way, like, if let's say you have to explain a concept to somebody, and if you're doing it on whiteboard, or let's say if you just, the way you diagram, the way you do diagrams, and the way you explain it, the portfolio should be pretty much that simple. Like, even if you're not there, somebody
Yeah.
should be able to make sense of it. So I think trends are secondary. It's just the content and the presentation that matters.
Rohan, do you have something to add?
I think, not much to add. I think it's about the function. It's about what story you are telling, and a lot less to do with the trend, because which, as you said, it is going to go away, right? And if you focus on main the the story, the function, it's going to make your case for a longer time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
one question.
So
Sorry, please go on ahead.
yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Sahil.
So we have one question from Alok as well. Again, that's more or less on a platform. So, what's your take on Substack for hosting one's portfolios? I think Alok, Substack is a pretty good platform. It again helps you write. It's more or less in the similar format that Medium is. It helps you write down. It helps you focus on the content and not just like the design and layout and format aspect of it. Substack is really cool in that sense, and I personally also love portfolios that help me quickly skim through like information and not take me through a long list of sort of designed things and all of that. But then again, it's your choice if you want to host it on, say, a secondary website or maybe something, a medium like Substack or Medium, or if you want to just put it in a place that's your own, maybe like your own website or something like that. Again, it doesn't really matter, but I think it's okay. You can use whatever platform you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Any
So
thoughts from?
I think, yeah, I think you mentioned it clearly. Also, like, you should be very clear on your goal as well. So I personally, let's say if I'm sending a case study to somebody, like let's say one of my clients, there are times when I would rework on it before sending it. So I think any medium you choose, it should be very flexible to go with, and then it should help your purpose. Like, it should not be something which now you have made it and now it is a very non-flexible sort of thing which you can't edit later. So as long as it's giving you that sort of flexibility, you can come back to it, you can duplicate it, you can edit it based on your needs. So you should know how you are going to use it, and then anything works. So I don't think that there's just one tool that you should stick with. Am I? I can't hear you, Sahil.
Sorry,
Rohan
sorry.
is.
Turn off your mic
Yeah,
first. Really sorry. Yeah, I think that makes sense, Jagriti. That's what I was
yeah,
saying. And Yep. Alok also asks, can you share some examples of good portfolios? Again, we've already shared them. You can go through the doc. I'll send you the link after this. I can actually send it while we're doing this. Maybe once we start doing portfolio reviews, I'll
yeah.
get a link and then send it on this chat itself. So you can go through all those links. And yes, we will be adding more and more juicy portfolios to this collection over time, and then you can refer to them. That should probably help.
Yeah.
I think that's more or less it.
Yeah, so let's dive into the portfolio reviews, I guess. That would be awesome, right? So I'll add your. So do you have access to the portfolio, Sahil? Are you ready?
Let me check. Let me check. Just give me a couple of seconds. Mm, Let me go through your Notion.
So Rohan, while he's doing that, I just want to understand. You recently took a masterclass on portfolio, right? So because you had an opportunity to talk to so many designers. What do you think is one of the most common challenge that you see designers have when they're designing their portfolio, and what they can do about it?
I think like one thing that I saw while reviewing and while taking the master class was people were not sure what to add and what not to add, and then
Hmm.
again what projects to add and what not to add. And then
Yeah,
most people most of the beginners, what they were doing is they were following the process, exactly what they have seen, this is the process, and they're not using their understanding to understand what this project requires or what I need to tell in this
yeah,
story, right? So, like we were discussing it earlier as well, that people are using personas, then people are using empathy mapping, then people are talking about those things, and it's like five folds of this same
yeah,
thing. And then so they're just following what they have seen. And one thing that they haven't developed that kind of design sense, as in like when to use what. And as Sahil was also mentioning, that you do not have to use the same sort of personas in all the information architecture. It's just something not required for every single project.
yeah.
And that's something I see a lot of designers doing. I'm it's really the one thing I think was the highlight there as well.
All right. Sahil, were you able to get your portfolios that you're going to review?
Yeah, I think we have a couple of them.
Okay,
I
so
think
I'm adding
he's
adding it
creating
to
another
the
notion.
yeah.
Can you guys see my screen?
All right. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Can you see the Behance thing on
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Awesome. So I think we can probably go with this one first. So his name is Kaustubh Salunke. He's from Bangalore, and I think we can probably talk about the layout and all
Mm-hmm.
those things itself first, because that's one of the most important aspects. So
Right.
when you do share your portfolio with someone, this is the first thing that recruiter probably is going to see. If you did share, say, your Behance link, right? So this is all that I have on you, and based on what I see
Mm-hmm.
here, I decide, if I want to forward your portfolio or not, right? So there are a
Yeah.
couple of things that again we can talk about in this screen itself. So the first one would be no like basically writing down everything that's important to you, things that you've been doing, who you are, and basically a little bit of background about you. So you can see
Yeah.
that he told that this is the city that he lives in. uh, this is what he's done, his educational qualification, a
Mm-hmm.
bit of a bit of insight about how much his portfolio is performing. More or less, I'm not sure if this has something uh, that a lot of recruiters would look at, but yeah, this is social proof. Definitely helps to some extent. You can also see what are the different places that he has worked in. So he's worked
Yeah.
in Sprinkler, in ThoughtWorks, in Webonice, and again in Webnice. So again, a bit of information about who the person is. I think something that I would like to also see a bit more is maybe talk a little bit more about who you are, your interests, and things like that.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
helps me understand, where do you actually come from, uh, what's your background, the things that you like to do. It could be like a brief sort of write up about you, but again, it does not have to be like really long. But again, something that helps me know you better and
Yeah.
helps me knows who Kaustubh exactly is a little bit better. Do you guys want to say something on this?
Yeah. So it surprises me that how many times this left section, especially on the Behance, it's not completed.
Yeah.
There is not much detail given. So this seems like this seems like that he has updated it with his recent employment history, which is super cool. Like this is something that's really good. Plus, he has also given the links to LinkedIn and I think other Medium and Facebook as well. So I can go check him out there as well. But yes,
Mhm.
a little 2-3 lines about him would have been great. What I also like in this portfolio the moment I enter is that there's a lot of context. So if he's writing human centered design and it seems like he's a UX designer, his work has been on UX, all the thumbnails, they support it.
Yep.
And that is something as well which I have seen that, especially if you're starting out and you don't have many projects, sometimes we put in branding projects, packaging product projects, every other project that is there. So I think that is something in there. He has, like, the context is very clear. I know that, if he's a UX designer, he pretty much seems like that. So that's pretty cool, I think. Rohan?
Uh, so a few things. Just just when I opened this portfolio, I see a lot of good screens and there is context. And then the bigger thing is he has used the logos of the companies that he has done the academics work for or the design task for. I don't know why it gives me a lot of like credibility that this person has done some this kind of work. And then he has smartly done is he has added these small tags or design
Hmm.
tasks and academics, which for me sometimes I go through the portfolio half in there and I'm still trying to figure out,
Yeah,
is it a live thing, is it a design project, is it a
right.
academic. Just one thing that if Costa is actually listening to this, so I would like to know who you are as a designer. What are you
Hmm.
trying to do? What are you trying what's next for you, something like that. Who you are as a person, that I would love to know more about. But this looks decent, and
Yeah,
this is one of the, and if you see the limit, there are limited projects as well. He is not bombarding us. I know
yeah.
obviously have done so much more work, but he has given that like 6 7 pieces, and I think
Yeah.
it's good.
The fact that he has put in like sprinkler, this is what I did, 2-3 lines. So let's say I'll talk about when I'm hiring, right? So I am trying to find the most relevant piece. Like I'm trying to basically find evidence that this person, if this person has done something similar. So if you do something like this, if you give me evidence that say I have like 7 projects and these are like the projects which I worked on, this was the company and like this is what the problem statement was, I probably do not even need to go through the entire case studies. I can just maybe pick up Ola because my company is Uber. Let's say if I'm a recruiting manager for Uber and I see something like that, I know, okay, cool, this is the guy for me. Let me just go through this case study and let me just talk to him. So I think it's also about like these people who are hiring you, they are on time. Like literally, they really make very quick decisions. So yeah, that's important. Let's probably just dive into one of his case studies and
Yeah. So one thing that I want to point out, on this particular screen is how you see that all of the thumbnails look so similar, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that's really, by the way, interesting. Having some sense of consistency across
Hmm.
helps
Yeah.
create sort of a cleaner profile, and you can clearly see how like all these five thumbnails look so good. Then there is a
Hmm.
different one. There's slightly a different design that Wikipedia follows here, and then you've got connecting peers again. And this is right in front of you, how having that sense of consistency also helps quickly scan through it. So here my attention is equally divided sort of when I'm going through it,
Yeah.
and I see here, and then it's a different format. So I was just getting used to this format where I see the logo, I see the information and
Hmm.
here and all that, and suddenly that suddenly that information hierarchy, or that the kind of space that you created for me to read all that information has also changed. This also is something that you want to focus on. I do understand that with time some of your projects get really old and you might not want to put any effort in them, but if you do have those projects in your portfolio, you definitely would want to at least clean up things so that they look really good even after, say,
Yeah.
a couple of years. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to edit the screens, as I also previously said, inside this project, but maybe if you could also, because you've followed this structure throughout, I'm assuming that's the
Yeah.
kind of brand identity you're trying to create. If you could also through follow them through in both these things, I think that would give us like a really neat experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's jump to one of these case studies. Okay. So Meetwiz.
Just a minute. Did we click sprinkler and we got meat with? Is that?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Okay. So that's a little bit of a, I don't know,
I think
maybe.
the Sprinkler is the company and Meatwiz is the
Oh,
product, but still it's misleading.
this might confuse. Yeah, this might
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
confuse.
Yep.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Because when you think of it, ideally, it's more or less like this screen particularly is opening into a new window, because everything else
Yeah.
is same. The screen is same and everything, and then you suddenly see a new logo and everything
Yes.
that's changed here.
Yeah.
So maybe rather than so you can either follow, either you can also have the sprinkler logo here and talk about who you did it for, or the better thing
Yeah.
would be, because it's about a product, you can just use the product logo in the back as well, and maybe somewhere down you can make you can write up things like
yeah.
it's a little it's for sprinkler and it's a design task or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, Also, I think something that I like here is how he has, right in the first frame itself in the cover photo, also shown what exactly what does the app do.
Yes.
Uh, so exactly, Meetwiz is an application solution for users to efficiently manage corporate meetings and highlights during post-meeting phase. Yeah. So there's a screen that you see in front of you that helps set context of what exactly this product looks like. This is something a lot of
Hmm.
people miss while trying to set up background. People write a lot of text, but they don't actually show people, like this is what the product
Exactly.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So
think,
that acts as a hook.
yeah, true. And it keeps you interested for a long period of time when you
Hmm.
start showing visuals early on. So even while you are writing and trying to build up context for the the app or the problem that you solved, you probably want to include some visuals as well. Yeah. The next one is problem statement. To conceptualize and design a mobile-based solution for users to handle meeting proceedings efficiently and provide seamless experience for tasks during and post meeting. I like how the problem statement is like clear. Sometimes we don't give enough credit to like the problem statement itself. We let it
Hmm.
just hide somewhere in the portfolio. So he's given like a dedicated sort of page to it. I think that the page definitely is a little too much, but I like the fact that he's also kept problem statement of its own and not tried to mix it with other bits and bytes of information. What do you guys think?
Really liked it. And again, there are so many times when this is the most missed piece. I mean, it's surprising, but it is. And I think in some cases where, as you mentioned, that sometimes the problem statement is not clear, then I think it is okay. Like you can even say that this was the initial hypothesis that we
Yeah.
went with, and then we came back and we revised the problem statement. That is fine too. But yeah, I mean, this makes sense. Of course, there's a little bit of a white space that is there. I also really liked how he has, with the problem statement, he's showing the output. So again, I know that there was an output, And based on what my interest level are, I may choose to then go down or maybe move on to the next project or the portfolio. So what he's actually doing is a due diligence in terms of saving my time as a hiring manager, because it's like I if I'm interested enough, or if I think that this was a big enough problem, I could take that decision. But if I have to go very down, 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 and that is when I got to know, oh, this was not a problem worth solving,
Yeah.
then there's no fun.
Yep, true. So you need to look at both the aspects, while creating something like this. Cool.
Yeah.
So let's move further on. Uh,
Oh, nice.
yeah, talks about process and adoption. Uh, yeah, I like how he's trying to fit in both the things in one single screen and not made
Hmm.
that double diamond design diagram again. Uh, I think this is a better way of doing it. Where you basically just define all the steps that you've write down all the steps that you've done throughout this process.
Right.
And you also wait. I'm trying to see if these things are connected. Oh yeah,
I'm
this is
not very sure about what adoption means though.
yeah. That yes, the copy itself is a little. I think it's a little unclear.
Hmm.
The copy can be worked on. When I say copy, I mean this text here.
Yeah.
But I like how both of these things are actually so. Yeah, I just realized that these things are actually sort of mixed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he did that
So
so that. Okay. Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
this
for
is cool.
example, defining personas to define users of the application, research and
Hmm.
insights to interview few users and gain key insights. So also sort of briefly walked upon why we're doing that particular
Yeah.
step.
So it's process and purpose basically. Like I don't think it's adoption. Maybe in my opinion, it's process and the purpose of that, which is super cool. And I think this is something which is really amazing. Really appreciate the fact that he is not really going on with just one standard process,
Yeah.
design thinking, empathy, all that ideation. This is really cool that it's okay to have your own process, or maybe takes bits and pieces from some other process and using it for your own good. So
Yeah. True.
this is cool. There's one thing which is very interesting in his entire thing. So he has, in a way, like, so in a way, he has taken a reverse approach. So sometimes what happens is, and I don't know if there's a right to wrong to it, but normally what happens is that people start from, let's say I define the problem, then I define the process, then I go with the entire process, I explain what all I did, and then at the end I see the outcome. What he has done is sort of a mix. So he has taken, like, he has shown what the outcome was, what was the output based on this problem statement. So he is, like, the way he worked, he's necessarily not stuck to that, that process, even in the way he has shown it.
Yeah.
So from the perspective of reading, it makes more sense to me when I'm reading it, and I can, at any moment, I can pick up a part and understand. So that's cool.
Exactly. So the process itself was the hero for the story, and again,
Yeah,
as Jagriti also said, uh, not sort of resorting to a particular format is something that you should also look at, because again, that helps you build the story of this particular case study. And again, in this case, he's clearly highlighted the things that were actually done and the reason that they were done. So this is a very good way of talking about your process and at the same time explaining it really well as well, I think.
let's just go mind mapping. This is cool. Hmm.
Um, okay, mind mapping helps in getting an overview of this entire system. So, okay, so I like how mind mapping is also an important step, and I think it would be like oh sorry. So again, it helps in setting context for this as well. But the copy here says mind mapping Excel helps in getting an overview of entire ecosystem during and post. So rather than saying it helps in getting an overview, it sounds like a very general thing that you're explaining about what
Yeah,
mind mapping does. One probably a better way to do it would be to explain why did you do mind mapping? How was it relevant for you? Rather than again saying I think that's just reframing the same thing more or less.
yeah,
Again, it does make sense. But yes, try to whenever you do introduce a step, try to talk about why did you do it and what was the
yeah.
outcome.
Also, mind mapping is more like a tool. I think he did it for business stakeholder alignment.
Yeah.
And if that is why it was done, to get the stakeholder alignment, or maybe, who all were involved in the project. So maybe use that. So mind mapping became a tool for it, but essentially what it helped you achieve was break. bringing the people who were, associated with the project, bringing them on the same page.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Mm. Research and findings. Oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
So as you can see, he says here, extracted key findings from the inquiry of few BA, QA, and tech leads, plus certain assumptions based on personal experiences. I like how he's clearly defined that the users were actually the business analyst, QA, and the tech leads, and not trying to make up like a fake persona or something like that.
Yeah.
This also helps set really clear expectations, and also how he writes personal assumptions based on personal experiences. I think in general, the research is about setting up the right expectations and also understanding your users. The reason why you make a persona is so that you can use that to follow through. And if you end up creating like a fake persona, you would not really have a strong story and a strong through line for that particular case study. So this
Right.
is a really nice way to put it. And also you'll see anecdotes coming from all of these people. So during weekly meetings, I often miss out on any scribbles or whiteboard data, which is crucial for syncing later and particular discussions topics to refer. So I like how he's highlighted these sentences that people have said. Um
Yeah.
this also helps a lot when you're proposing solutions, when you're trying to build something and you're trying to pitch something to your team. This is something that really helps. And also having this, at the bottom you have the legend as well. So what does yellow and what does blue actually mean?
Hmm.
uh, that also helps a lot. So situation and motivation, these are the situations and this is the outcome. So had how to recollect few jotted down notes, scribbles. So the outcome is like syncing with people to get it through, and again things like that. I think this is really helpful as well. Yeah.
The only thing that I would recommend would be to actually include the research questions. I mean, by research questions, I mean that what is it that he set out for when he was researching? That's the bit I find missing. So they're anecdotes and they're really good.
Mm.
But why were like, what was the basic research question, or maybe what was your assumption, or maybe what was the objective of your research? So
Yep.
that is something that is missing. Or also, if were you actually observing them while they were using some other product? So that's sort of a context. A little bit of context is missing, but else the way he has presented it is really awesome. That's good.
Yep, that's true.
Hmm.
Mm,
Nice.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Capture the goals. Instead of focusing on just features for this particular app, I wanted to focus on the goals desired from the app. Mm, yeah, I like how it's framed.
hmm.
So again, I think all every problem and the solution to every problem should be a balance of both the business and as well as the user needs and goals.
Yeah.
It's not just about building features that no one's going to use, and it's also not just about building features that people are going to use but you don't have any business value out of it. So it's about balancing both the things. But I like how he talks about goals from at least from the user's point of view. I think that's good. It would be interesting to see business goals as well. I'm not sure if that's
Hmm.
something we see later on in this case study, but yeah, this is also pretty good. So user control, automated data maintenance, assistance, and yeah, I think application solution should give control to the users to complete their tasks efficiently and worry free during the meeting. And again, a bit of context that explains what he's talking about. Uh,
Yeah.
Also, if at this point of time, if you're working on a product that already exists and you have data around things, right? You have data around what the goals are and how do you plan to sort of bridge that gap to reaching that goals. This is also a very good time to talk about what do
Hmm.
you what exactly is your hypothesis, what are the goals that you want to reach. For example, the goal can be not really qualitative but it can be quantitative as well. For example, reach 1 million uh, users per day from 500,000 users per day. So that's a quantitative data point or a quantitative goal. And then you can talk about how do you plan on breaking that goal down in different aspects as well. Again, this is something that you see generally in a day-to-day sort of office environment where you have goals like this. So having something like that also helps people connect better because like hiring managers and all the people involved understand that this person understands how goals work and also knows how to break them down to achieve that particular target. Yeah.
Yeah.
Personas. Yeah. Hmm. Yep, again, as it was written above, based on key findings from the inquiry and certain
Hmm.
assumptions, personas, stakeholders can help check if product aligns with their user needs. Um, I think this is something that could have been paired with this screen itself.
Yeah.
Personas should ideally come before research and findings, because the personas were made, and then based on that, these things were quoted. I'm not sure if the order is right.
Actually, it's both ways. So, like when you are doing them internally, they are proto personas, which then you use. They're the prototypes of personas based on assumption, which you then use to screen your users and find the relevant users. But then,
Yeah,
of course, you go back and revise your personas. So it's not like it happens before and after research, like both
yeah.
ways.
Again, so this is also something that's iterative, more or
Hmm.
less. But yep, concept map to conceptualize and design a mobile based solution for users to handle meeting expectations efficiently and provide seamless experience for tasks. Uh, yep. So I think this is more or less an information architecture with just action points and things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's good to see of how this is supposed to work on. So, but I'm still trying to understand what exactly it means. So, common meet was enable employees to record meetings, to revisit tasks, mark transcripts, view others' inputs.
I
Okay,
think
okay.
it's about when this particular product comes in picture of the entire thing.
Ye- Yeah. I think this is more or less the task. Yeah, I agree to that. And also, I think it's a list of tasks as well that the user can actually perform on uh, the product, on the app. I'm not sure if it should be called concept map though. Uh, Concept maps are slightly different. I don't know. What do you think, Jagrati? Any thoughts?
Um, I think from his perspective, what he's trying to do is that this will be like this is how it will look. Also not very sure because this to me it also looks like a map, honestly, like of how who all will be the stakeholders, who all will be the people, what would they do. So I think for him, concept map simply probably if it's he would have simply thought it as it's a concept that this is what we'll do. So in a way, I think it's his way of taking notes, and he has written it as concept map. But if we talk about the term, I don't know. Like maybe it's just the
Yeah, I think
concept, not the concept
true, true,
map,
true, true.
right?
Yeah.
So
Just one
because
small thing.
he has actually written about information architecture in detail.
Yeah. So that is the information architecture.
Yeah.
Um, yes, to understand the complete basic. Yeah, I mean it's pretty much standard on how this is supposed to be. I like how he also has marked the primary, secondary, and tertiary sort of sections of the app. That's a really
Wow.
good way for a
Yeah.
user to understand how deep can you go inside the hierarchy.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Mm, Solution and main screen. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So this is the touch point, how you basically see it, and then you
mm-hmm.
reach here, and then you come to the main screen, which is where you see all the meetings happening. And I think on that you can create a meeting. Uh, you can write down whatever you want. You can add members. I like how the flow has also been really neatly marked with arrows and everything. It
Hmm.
shows you that this is how you select date. This is how you. This is the ability to select projects as per assigned. Select project as per list of assigned projects, and again, what exactly every screen is about. So create meeting, and again, different states, highlighting the different states as well, and the flow in
Yeah.
general using these lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this is also really good. Again, I think I've seen very less people actually do it. So whenever you're trying to define a journey, you should also do like a pre, during, and post experience. So
Hmm.
before the user is doing like the main task, how are they supposed to sort of reach it? What are they supposed to do to reach
Yeah.
that particular stage? What do they do inside that particular stage or thing that you've built? And what happens after it? So maybe if you can also talk about it in general, like, like it's done here, that is also really helpful as well. Yep. So yeah, you can see that now that the recording has ended, you can see uh, you can add comments and do things. You can add visuals and all those things as well. And this is how you access previous meetings, basically. Yep, that's it. Cool. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, I think one thing that oh yeah, one thing that I missed here was uh, any anything special that came out to you while working on this. Anything that you did
Yeah.
not know is how it's supposed to be. Any learnings, any takeaways? Obviously, there's going to be no business metrics or anything tied to it. But personally, when you were working on this, was there something that you learned? Any takeaways? Any you know any insights that you would want to share? I think that would also be really nice to see.
Yeah. Same. I feel the same. So, like I say it like as in stories we have happy endings. So
Yeah.
usually there are some elements, right? So one is like the hero or the client for whom you did. Then
Yeah.
you being the mentor, what was your plan? Like how did you do it? So that was the process, right?
True.
What was the conflict? What was the problem that there was? And then like what was the happy ending? So the happy ending for you and for the company. So like how did it help? Or did it help in so all these people you talk to, do you think that in some way like there would be some benchmark, right? So let's say right now they were like assuming if they were taking this much time to just capture note, or they were spending this much time after using this tool, how much time you think that they are saying that they have saved? Anything like that sort will really help your case. Like that, this is a really great case study. The only
Yeah.
thing missing is the impact piece, like what actually happened based on these things. What do you think,
Yeah.
Rohan?
I think that the impact, sorry to break in, I think the
Uh,
impact is not there because this was a design task. So,
yeah, it's a design
Oh,
task. So there should be like but to sum this up, there should be learnings. So
yeah,
what did you learn
yeah,
while
in
working
his
on
case,
this? It could be industry specific learning. It could be like project specific learning. It could be anything, but like just like this can't be the end. I want to see like what did you
yeah,
learn? So that was
yeah,
how your process evolved, or maybe something on those lines.
yeah,
Something
that's
like I
true.
would.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Reason,
mean the fate of the app, like what happened to this? I'm just left hanging, like what happened? What happened? He did this much, then what happened? So
yeah,
yeah, but that's cool. That's cool. Let's move on to the next one. We are actually running short of time.
yep.
So
Okay.
let's move on to let's move on to the next portfolio maybe.
I'm just looking for that. So I think, yeah, this was
Okay. Yeah.
1 second. Okay. So this is Apurva Narayan. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's hosted on a personal sort of website on Webflow. This is interesting to see how so I think this is what we were talking
Yeah.
about how who you are, what are the things that you like, maybe a bit about your hobbies, your nature, and things like that. She's talked about how she loves fashion, traveling, and dark chocolate. um, would also love to see where she's currently working, maybe just one liner
Hmm.
or something like that on where she's currently working and the things that she's doing. But yeah, I guess it should be a balance of personal plus professional sort of updates, or like some sentences from that. Yeah.
I think
A lot of
also,
personality.
yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry,
Please.
Rohan. Sorry, Rohan. You go ahead.
So I was saying, but like what I really liked about this is there is a lot of personality in there. Like she's actually talking about I love fashion, traveling, in a big bar of dark chocolate, and there is a photo. Like there is an image, and that image actually is built so much this thing. So I think the like I just miss what you are doing right now, and if you add that piece in here, like if you are a student, if you are working somewhere, I think this is a very good way to start.
Yep. Yep. This,
Yeah,
yeah, again.
I agree with both of you, and this is like there's a certain personality that is coming out, which is really cool. Like sometimes if I have to hire somebody, I want to know that who is this person, which is super cool. Like, in Costa's example, I think it was a caricature that he had done. So I know that maybe this guy has that sort of a personality, which was quirky. This is also really interesting. The only
Yeah.
thing that I think is missing and can be improved is that, when you say designer, there are a lot of designers. Like, are you a fashion designer? Are you a graphic designer? Are you a visual designer? Or are you a UX designer or a UI designer? So I think maybe giving some bit of a context, because I don't know, like, which designer are you? And as Rohan said, like, are you working? Also, probably here you can also link it to your social media handles or your social media profile, just so if I'm interested in knowing more about you. So
Yeah.
LinkedIn would be good, maybe Insta, whatever that you are active on.
Yeah. One more thing would be, I mean, I really like this. Don't want to get too critical, but one good thing would be having a clear call to action. So,
Yeah.
what if I want to hire you? I know that it's a little too early, but generally, if there's a way for me to contact you as well, or for example, say I've already stumbled across, your work somewhere else or something like that, and I land on this portfolio, or maybe I've just met you somewhere and I want to get in contact with you. I think having some form
Hmm.
of call to action here would also really help as well. Especially, for
Yeah.
example, say in terms of work, you could also link to work, or you could link to contact, depending on again how what exactly do you want to portray. Yeah. So, okay, coming on to work. So there's one. You probably open this one. Her trip. So this is a UI UX project. Uh, So talking about thumbnails here, uh, I like how like she's used bold imagery to depict all of those things. But one thing that I would probably also want to focus on is because it's a UI UX project, and at the core of this project is actually the product itself.
Hmm.
It would have also been sort of an interesting thing to see the app itself. So maybe if
Yeah.
there was a way for us to see the app and how it looks like, that would also be. I think that would also be a very good way to. I mean, again, that's an experimental way to show your thumbnails as well. But I think that would also be accurate as to what exactly am I supposed to expect inside it. Yeah. So,
And
yep.
I have a feeling that she's from like some design college as such,
Yeah.
because this
I am.
imagery, because
Yeah.
this imagery as a cover image or something. It's very like I've seen people doing it a lot who are coming from recent graduates basically. They do it a lot.
Yep. So I think it's probably
Stereotyping.
the same influence coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, here you see talks about project type, UI and UX, timeline, September 2019, platform, iOS, Android, web, all the things that we were talking about earlier. Uh, a bit of context about what exactly this product is. I think something that I would also like to see here would have been what exactly is the problem. Generally, for example, in the one that you saw for cost of right, it actually focused on what the problem
Yeah.
is. Here,
Hmm.
I mean, I know that I'll eventually see the problem somewhere. Okay, it starts here, but it's very good to see like a definitive problem statement, right, being written up in front, so that we have a context of what exactly are we supposed to look for. Because when you start giving me all these, imagery and text and all that, I am looking at it, but I'm not sure about what I should be reading to reach that particular say problem statement. But yeah, that's what I feel. Hmm. I like how this says skip to view screens. Let's see what happens. Okay. Yeah, I think that was a very long scroll, but
Yeah.
it's a very nice thing to do if you just want to quickly skip to the screens. I think that's a great way to deal with that as well. Because yeah, sometimes hiring manager and all that, all of them, they don't want to go like throughout your whole portfolio. They just want to directly see what is it that you've been working on, because that could also be one of their metrics, to just look at a particular type of visual design or something like that, and based on
Hmm.
that see if someone should be sent forward. But yeah, going back, it's a pretty long case study, by the way.
Long case study.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you want to say something, Jagrati? I feel like you want to say something.
I think when we skip to the screen, I don't know, like maybe we'll talk about it later, but I think, and I'm assuming that it is for an Indian audience. It seems like she has used those sort of iconography here. So there's
Yeah.
something called consistency, right? So I see that missing somehow, like in the way that if you go to the onboarding screens, the kind of icons and the imagery that is used there is quite different. Also, like let's say if you are using inside your app, you are using image based interface, right? So there are real images, real pictures, all that. And
Yeah.
when you see in your onboarding images which are totally they're icon based or they're illustrations, so that's where I see a little inconsistency. Then if you are if your audience is Indians, which I'm assuming based on the icons that she has used here, there the icons are looking very different. So these are like just very, very small nuances, but I think I'm not able to get that sort of consistency, right? So there's certain consistency that's missing.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's what I think so far. Uh, Rest, I don't know, like let's see and see the process and we'll know more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so here she talks about challenges, orthodox mindset, convincing family, misogyny. Yeah, so quickly go
Yeah, so
through.
it's for Indian women only, yeah.
Yeah, it's very remember. Yeah, that's true. This also sums up the problems that are faced by women. So, difficult to find reliable travel agencies and packages. So, again, this is a travel app. I mean, again, you would get that anyway from reading this, but I think it's slightly,
Yeah,
also slightly longer. So I think this is
yep,
where you actually start from. Her Trip is a travel app designed for women in India where travel packages are exclusively. So this could have been sort of the background. Uh,
hmm,
this could have been the first line, and then you could have talked about in India we're living past. Again, that's more or less to do with the copy, but not the actual layout. But content also recites your story. So I think it
yeah.
would be interesting to see how can you, in this least amount of time, put forth the background of the product and also explain the problem very clearly.
Yeah, I think just one thing. This is not just with like this case study, but with many others that we see
Mhm.
that. First, I'm not sure if this is a concept app or is this if this is something which already exists. I don't know that. I'm not very sure. But I think when you're defining the challenges or when you're defining the problems, right? So let's talk about misogyny. Like that is
Hmm.
something which is there, but I think there would be some people who might differ from that. So when you have something which is so sensitive and some problem that you want to tackle which has a social aspect to it, in fact any problem that you want to tackle with design, it
Mhm.
always is good if you have some research or maybe some study to back that up. So even if there are ample number of research that would have been done by many companies which are into women's safety or which are into travel and tourism, which talk about how women as solo travelers, how do they travel, what are the trends. So that would really help your case. So even if you're building a case, I don't think you would be like from a business perspective as well as from a user perspective, you need to have certain very strong reason and a very strong business case to build something. The challenges that you're saying, for example, orthodox mindset, like there would be some families, some people who would have faced it. There would be many women who might not have faced that. So these are again assumptions, but if you can show it with certain reports and numbers, that would be awesome. And I think this is a cool app. Like this would be good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think based on this, I think this is probably a concept product. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
This is like
so
getting started.
yeah, maybe just see that, in terms of like if there are some companies like Wonder Woman, yeah, let's say what is it that they are not doing? Like also do a sort of comparative analysis or comparative benchmarking, seeing that what is it that these guys are doing in terms of UX and usability and how I can make that better. So
True.
that would be cool, right?
Yep, yep, yep. Uh, all right, so jumping ahead, we have problems faced by women, solutions. Okay, so we have the big old design method here again. Do you want to talk about this, Jagrati? This is a very, I think that this is a very favorite topic of yours.
Nah. Actually, so the thing is, this is like, of course, this is a very well respected design thinking methodology and everything. Everybody knows it. My only qualm with it, like my only problem with it is that it's overused. And honestly, this is not how real world works. There would be
Mhm.
times when this would be work. Also, this is more of a mindset. So let's say if I'm talking about discovery, and there would be like inside discovery, there would be empathy, right? So you don't
Yeah.
stop empathizing user once you've done the discover step. My problem is that when it is treated as a process and not as a mindset. Design thinking is more of a mindset. Like let's say you never stop ideating, you never stop designing, you never stop testing. So it should be like a north star for you, but your process doesn't have to be like this design process. Also,
Yeah.
if you are using it, then maybe tell me like what is it that you did in discover. So if let's say we talk about this diagram, maybe in the discover tell that how is it, what did you do in the discover for this project, like how did the discovery happen for this one, how did the define happen for this one, right? So like it's a mindset. I don't know, I don't find any value in just having this diagram.
Yep.
And
Yep.
like yeah, so that's my 2 cents on this. Some people might disagree, but this is what I feel.
True. Rohan, what are your thoughts in general,
Uh,
maybe?
I think so. The first thing is this. I think too much text, which could have been highlighted for the points that she's trying to make.
Hmm.
And like you can simply, so like we were discussing about the brief she gave, and the just the last like sentence of it, if she would have like highlighted, I get the sense of what this is, right?
Yeah.
Then talking about the design process, I think it's overused, but then there is one thing that it solves for as well. So most of the times the like uh, designers are not the first people to see the portfolio. It's
Yep.
basically the HR people and all these, and they have been seeing this for so long that if they don't see it, they feel like that this person hasn't done the thing. And I'm just like just thinking that this is an assumption of mine, and I can be very wrong, but like these people have certain like if they do not see this like design thinking process or double diamond process, if people haven't highlighted this, then they might think that way. But again, makes sense.
Yeah. I think I agree with
But the
both Rohan and
but it's
Jagriti.
very neat, and the alignment is really good. So that's the part which I think it has white spaces, it is neat, she has used headings properly, which is really good. So
Yep.
that's amazing.
Yeah. All right, moving on ahead. So research, it's taken telephone and physical interviews, online surveys, secondary research. Uh, then it talks about qualitative research here. What is your age? What is your occupation? What are your work timings?
These are basically the questions. I think.
Yeah, these are the questions.
Wow.
I love this. I love this.
Yeah, this is really great.
Yeah.
Just thinking one thing. If these questions are anyway tied to these graphs, why not just directly show them?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, so this would have been like she could have actually talked about the screener question. So, a very important skill for designers is to actually, like, I would be very curious when I'm hiring. I would definitely ask that who are the people you interviewed and how? So,
Yeah.
like, how did you recruit them? What was your screener question? I would be very interested in that bit. So maybe this thing can go under the hyperlink or maybe to a separate document or something, and then these things can come up, which is like the actual research. Like for example, right now I do not know what the sample size was and how did she recruit it. But the amount of research like this looks amazing.
Also,
Yep.
like I just saw she has just jumped to the personas. When someone does this kind of qualitative research, I personally, for one, I like the graphs and representation, but I will not go too deep into seeing the actual data. I just want to quickly get these were the four insights that we got out
Yes,
of this. Like
yes.
this is one thing that I look forward to if someone has done
Yeah.
any research.
Yep.
Also
Yep.
the way like Kostov did those anecdotes, they were very powerful. So like let's say if there's your insight and here you are sharing an anecdote which kind of sums up that insight. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, because in that one sentence or maybe three, four sentences, I get the
Yeah.
gist of the whole research. It's so powerful.
True. Hmm. So I think it's created three personas based on the research that has been done. Uh, I think okay. The only one thing that I would probably point out here is the contrast is really low. I mean, obviously, I can see this text, but I would recommend maybe working on the contrast for these things. So all of this text is written in a very light sort of text. There are different plugins and tools for you to check out contrast. For Sketch, you have Stark. I think Stark is available for Chrome and all those as well. So when you are designing these portfolios, make sure that you do keep things like accessibility, contrast, and basic. So there is a particular guidelines called WCAG, which is Web Contrast and Accessibility Guidelines.
Yeah.
I would recommend to keep that in mind, but again, it can be difficult to follow through, with all the things. But if you can at least stick to the basics of it, I think it's very good and makes it more readable. I'm having slightly harder time trying to read what it's like what's written here. I have to really focus because it's very light in color. Yeah, I think the same goes
And
for this as
I for one can't read it. I don't know.
Yeah, I
well.
Can you
mean,
read?
anyways, we are seeing a smaller screen, so yeah, can't read it actually.
Yeah.
uh, Yep. And also the same thing goes for these titles as well. Like the dark pink that's used here could have also been used for the title itself. So it gets more sort of focus, or maybe just made them like bolder or whatever. But yeah. Um, cool. And then we have empathy mapping.
Here's my problem. And
Yeah.
as we were discussing this, that she has done the persona, and I believe that's not the proto persona, that's the persona. And
Yeah,
then now she's doing the empathy mapping,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? And she's doing it for, I think, all the personas she has mentioned. I think this is actually this is what bugs me. They have just seen that people doing personas, people doing empathy mapping, so I'll do everything. And that's
I
like,
think
a problem.
so. There's one thing which I really want to share. Like, I've been through that as well because when I was out of my design college, there's a lot of things that were taught to us, and I use them till now. It's not that I don't use it, but I think there is like you don't necessarily have to show everything, or maybe you can have a separate document. Like, let's say if you are really keen on showing that this was the work that I did, you can simply, like, write something like, this was the empathy mapping also that I did for this project, and that can lead to something separately. But I think when you're doing persona is derived in a way from the empathy mapping. Like, while you're doing it, it will have your pain gain jobs, and how you think see feel do. It will have all those things. So it's redundant basically. Like,
Yep.
I want to get to the point fast.
Yeah, and maybe if you have even done it, it's okay to abstract some of this information, right? I mean, as a think of the person who's in front of you as again your target audience, as to what exactly will they gain from looking at this, right? So
Yeah,
maybe if there's a way to summarize all the information, maybe if there's a way
exactly.
for to make it easily sort of skimmable, I think that is also something that's really it's a critical part of it.
Plus now here it's all like, it's all very black and white. So she can actually use it as a way to, maybe, let's say, if there's one thing which she wants to tackle, like from that empathy map, or if there's one pain or gain which is very crucial, you can maybe highlight that because you would not be able to tackle everything from the app. So what is it? How did you prioritize it? So that would be cool too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Oh wow,
and then you have
this is
storyboards. Okay,
interesting.
these are nice.
These are really detailed. Cool.
Yeah, the phone screens look cool.
Yeah, seriously, like there's so much detail here.
Uh, ye- yeah, I created a storyboard so I could understand my product better and also explain it easily to stakeholders. Yeah, I think it's. Can we? Could we probably talk about why? Like, I mean, it does talk about like why it's done, but again about value itself. Like, what was the outcome of creating these storyboards? What did it help? What did it actually help? And did it really help at all?
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
But yeah, again, so the idea is whenever you do a step, make sure that that step accounts to something, right? It does something
Yeah.
in the process. It has an important value both for you and for the viewer. If it's something that did not have a value, that did not have a lot of value for you, think of not putting it there at all. Even if it did have a value, maybe put it somewhere, but maybe think of,
Yeah.
does it make sense for the user who's seeing this? The next one is user flow. Uh, which launch app walkthrough, sign up, user details, create account. Yeah, I think, yeah, this is helpful in trying to understand how exactly
But I
this.
think here probably talk about the discoverability aspect, like where is it? Because there would be several touch points from which you are discovering the app and then you are coming on the app. So I think that part is in a way like maybe that part should also be looked at. Like, is it like do you get a link on your phone, like WhatsApp link on your phone, or is it like on the landing page? Is it on the Play Store?
Yep.
So that aspect, right?
Yeah. Also, if there is a way to define primary, tertiary, and primary, secondary, and tertiary navigation, I think that also really helps to see
Right.
how deep it actually goes. So I'll tell you the reason why you should be doing that is whenever you probably heard of the 3 to 5 step sort of rule, as in you should not take users deeper than like 3, 4, or maybe 5 steps inside your app. That also helps in understanding if you are creating a certain scenario or maybe a use case or maybe a flow. It helps you determine how deep actually are you taking user inside the app, how many taps till
Yeah.
they are actually able to finalize the task that they were supposed to do and get out of it with success or with failure or whatever it is. Also talking about success and failure, I think I'm not sure if that is, but would also like to see success and failure inside the user flow, because again, that's a part of a realistic expectation towards an app. Yeah. Mm. Okay, card
Card
sort.
sorting.
I like the garden in the background.
This is cool, but I think there can never be a card sorting. Like, who did the card sorting? Like, immediately, I want to know who did the card sorting because you need to have your people to do, like, you need to have your users to do card sorting. So,
Yep.
like, if you are doing it, why not you just do it on paper? Like, why do it like this? So I think this is something which is again, this is again my assumption that probably this was something which was not necessarily of value. If you did it by yourself, you can simply information architecture would work. But just to show something because it's a process, I think then it's not like worth it. You need to have users to do card sorting with.
Yep. And sorry to point out, but I think this image is a little bit distracting with the with
Yeah.
the plants and all that is in background. So yeah, I mean, if you are putting content, just you probably might want to make sure that it's readable because it's a little distracting. But yeah, otherwise, I think yeah, it's good, and I agree with what Jagriti also said. Yeah. The next one is information architecture. I'm not sure how it's different from the user flow.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, like I don't know what's the menu. Like, it's home packages. Okay.
you know what? This would actually be. So one thing that you probably have already noticed is we've not seen a visual of the app yet, and it's been a lot of
Yes.
scrolls,
Yeah.
huge. So I think it would be good time to start showing in some visuals. I do understand
Yep.
that start showing it here, but then again, maybe every now and then you also could show some bits and bytes of how it looks like again to act as a hook so that the users or the target audience does not drop off from looking at it. Then you have low fidelity wireframes, talking about what the process was, login, home. Then you have high fidelity, then final screens. So maybe in this case, I'm not sure what was the goal behind converting low fidelity to high fidelity or
Yeah.
doing both the things. I mean, generally it's either one of the other things, and even if you did do all of this, I think it's okay to again abstract some of this apps information and not show it right away, so that it takes I mean slightly lesser space, unless and until you think there's something crucially important for me to see here. And again, I think
Mm-hmm.
more or unless these screens have just been translated into high fidelity wireframes. So I think in that case, you can just show the high fidelity wireframes itself. That will help with that. And again, I can see like onboarding screens, sign up, sign in flows, and verification and all that. I think it's okay to take away some of the states. For example, there's literally 3 states here with all the steppers, uh, and 2 of them have the same text. So I'm not trying to get into the nitty gritties of this. But yes, I think it's okay to take away some of these screens. So you focus on the important ones, which would again be the home screen, because this is something we all know anyway. There's obviously going to be an onboarding. There's anyway going to be a login or whatever. I think what people want to see is how does the app actually sort of look like or work, or it's supposed to work. So yeah. Yes, I think in this it makes sense to show all these steps because again they're more visual in nature and they're illustrations as well and depicting like different messages across. Yeah. So yeah, main screens, home screen page, booking and payment screens, next project. Okay. Yep. I think this also misses the same thing again. There's no it this abruptly ended.
Yeah,
So I
there's
don't
no
know.
call to action. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe you know
Also,
what? So there are 2 things. Sorry, please go on ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Thank you so much for being so kind. So I think there are probably 2 or 3 things that I can put here. The first one being the conclusion itself, where we talk about, what is it that you got out of doing this? What were the insights? What were the learnings and takeaways? That Rohan also shared previously. One more thing I would probably see. So I like how it says next project. That's really interesting. That's the second point that I was going to talk about. The third one could also be maybe, like if like, do you like this project? You can get in touch with me instantly because, say, I've seen this here. I've decided and I'm at this scroll and I've decided, okay, now I want to get in touch because I like this. I have to scroll and wait for the sort of tab bar to come in. So don't really give options for people to say, find things. And again, being the footer of the page, generally, again, you must have probably seen in footer, people do like a good job of containing all the important links and points where you can go and quickly jump to. So yeah, Jagriti, you
I
want to say?
think I think the amount of research and work that she's done, which is like super, like the prep work is so awesome and the groundwork is so good. The amount of time and I would say even the state that she has given, like space that she has given to her screens is really less. Like, that's the outcome, right?
Yeah,
So I think the way she's presented her outcome at this point, of course, like she can go back and work on it. It's not doing justice to all that work she's done. So let's say if I talk about this, right? So she has not explained the screen, like what was the challenge that she was able to tackle with this. So maybe, some call outs, right? So let's say if I take up a screen, some call outs mentioning that this is like, this element is here because this solves this problem. Maybe if she was talking about like, it's hard to find or discover apps, how is it that you are making it easy for the user, right? So like what problem are you solving
yep,
with this app? That part I don't know, like in terms of design decisions, why did she take that decision? Why did she use these colors? Like what was the reason for it? Why is it like, all these things are missing? Is there some angle of I think she's giving this feature of messaging or something? Why is it there? So I think given the amount of research that she's done, at least some bit of it should be reflected on the design in terms of how it's explained. I don't think she's explained her designs well enough. So
exactly. Yeah.
that's one
So
thing that I would say that she should work on.
yeah, so I agree to what Jagriti has said. I would point out that 2 things. One is flows, actual app flows. For example,
Yeah,
how does the app actually flow? Like from here, what can you go? So these screens are just laid out right now. I don't know.
right.
I I don't exactly know how the flow is. Even if these are connected, maybe you could just show arrows that this leads to here, this leads to here,
Yes.
and this is how it's supposed to turn out. The second one being again, as Jagriti has already mentioned, articulating your design decisions is something that we've really been interested in looking at. Uh, I know that this is a travel app for ladies. I'm not sure who exactly will you message. Will you be messaging other people, or
Hmm.
is it like organizers, or who exactly is it? So again, a little bit of
Exactly.
confusion here. uh, and I'm not sure if that is something I'll also find in the research, as to who exactly I can talk to. Again, if
Right.
as you've written here, face verification is added to gain trust. Travel cards on the home screen to take user to the package screen and all that. I think it would have been interesting to see that being written either here or inside the wireframes itself, so that it would also be like just uh, like literally out there for me to understand what exactly this is about. Yeah. But otherwise, sorry, Rohan, are you saying something?
Yeah. So,
Yes.
I'll reiterate a few points. So I think the kind of work she has done, it's amazing. Like
Yeah.
I just want to say she
Yeah.
has done a lot of hard work. And when I say that with a lot of respect, I want to say that like she could have removed so much data and still it would be so amazing. And
Yeah.
redundant things, this is the outcome, like this is the output, actually the screens that we are seeing. And I even if I don't do anything, I'll put these in nice clean good clay mockups or mockups, colorful mockups, because this is the final product. And I think she has just put screens, so you can either do two things, and the first one is obviously the easier way. You just put your screens in nice mockups, right?
Hmm.
The second one, as we were all, talking about, you can actually mention what in this screen exactly is the solution of some problem, or we have seen that highlight parts and show that this is we have done for this purpose and all this things. And I just want to say there's a lot of text. You can highlight a few points, and I think that would make your case. So when I was reading through this case study, I found the points I was looking for is somewhere in there, but then I have to
Yeah.
really really go through every single text and that remove the redundant everything, highlight the points. And one thing I'll suggest is, at the end, if you do not have anything, what I do with my projects is, in the end I do this. I said, like the projects, let's create something great together, and there is a CTA to just contact me right then and there, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that you can also do. But overall, I think she has done so much work. It
Hmm.
just takes out 1 hour or 2 hours, just revise something. So it's going to be one of the amazing case studies she has in her portfolio.
Absolutely.
Yes. This
Absolutely.
is absolutely great work. I think Apurva has done it, right? Apurva is a
Yep.
Yeah.
not wrong. Apurva,
Apurva
yeah,
Narayan.
yeah. Great work, Apurva. Really love what you've done here. Yeah. Do we have time for another case
Yes.
study?
Very quickly. Very quickly.
Okay. This one, M indicator. Let's just go through the profile first, I think.
Yeah.
Aditya Nair, he's a student still. Okay, that's
Hmm.
nice. Mm, member since January 2020. So this is pretty. I think, yeah, this is pretty updated then. Okay, I think as we've already moved on ahead with the sorry, given the feedback, would have been a little bit better to see a bit about who Aditya Nair is, what does he like to do, given the fact that he does not really have a lot of experience yet. He's a student, so I think it would be nice to understand what are your aspirations, Aditya.
Hmm.
What are the things that you look for? If you're looking for work, what kind of work are you looking for? What is it that you like to do? Because based on that is also what sets the expectation for your hiring manager as well, right? So that is what would also tell them this is the kind of work that Aditya is interested in doing in. And accordingly they would probably go ahead with their profile or decide to not go ahead with it. So I think that's something that you can look at. I like i like the presentation of the M indicator app.
Yeah.
Nice,
It's
neat.
hard to miss it actually. Like it's first it's like white and red, and I mean you will look at it. It's eye popping
Yeah,
somehow. I don't know. You want to look at it.
true. So let's go inside this and see what is there. Oh, I
Nice.
think this is a better view. Cool. So
Hmm.
M indicator redesign. Yep, right ahead you see the app. Couple of the screens. These are a little hidden, but yes, I still see some of it. And nice job, like with the header and all that. Really balanced colors. I like the visual design
Yeah.
overall. Um, I just noticed here it says version 1.01 Eagle. So I'm not sure if this is a live app or what. But yeah. The challenge M indicator has been around for a long time and has been a user base of more than 1 crore users. The app hasn't seen many updates. I think this is a little too like lengthy, and the challenge, it's actually a mix of both the background as well as challenge. So when you talk about the challenge, maybe if you're talking about the problem statement itself, there are two things you can do. One is, anyway, so this is a big paragraph divided into two smaller chunks to divide the information, background, and then then basically what the problem statement is. Second thing you can also do is to highlight the important parts of what you're trying to say here by simply just making the characters in bold. That's it. You don't have
Yeah.
to do much.
Actually, he has done this in the next section, and he has to actually
Yeah.
do the same for the above
Oh,
section as
yes.
well.
Yeah, like you've done here. I like how you've
Yeah.
done here, and also underline things here. More than 100 reviews and ratings. I think that could have also been done here, and that would have really added
Yeah,
to this section as
yeah.
well. But yeah,
The only thing is that probably mention that, I mean, I don't know, maybe just like, set the expectation right. Like, is it a concept? Like, did you do it with the team, like with their team, or is it something that you did on your own? Because, like, I would like to know that. So that
uh,
thing I'm not yet very sure.
that's
Because,
why I pointed out this version 1.01 Eagle
yeah,
thing.
right? Because he talks about the Moban team has been working on it. So are these like your assumptions? Are these your observations? Are you privy to all this information? So I'm a little curious about that part. Maybe just make it clear like you are a part of the team. That's not very clear right now because you have mentioned that you're a student. So that's why hence the question comes. But
Exactly.
this is super cool that he has actually taken out these screenshots and this
Yeah,
is really good. Yeah,
and just so that just to mention here, I love the visual design aspect of it. It's very neat.
it is. It is.
It's really well done. Again, I think the information is something that they can hold back a little on. Again, here
Yeah.
you see like a huge paragraph that talks about. I think you can just understanding users. You can literally just this do all the talking. Not sure if you
Hmm.
even need this. Uh, you can put out some of the ideas, or I think this has some of the findings as well. Yeah, this one. On the other hand, 1-star reviews gave me clear instructions on what users hate about the app. Ended up looking at more than 100 ratings and reviews, and both.
Maybe break it down into smaller paragraphs, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that will solve the problem.
Yeah,
Because I
also like
think
if you are talking about the like this thing, the reviews, like also mention something which is good about it. Like right now, I don't know if there was something good. Like you mentioned that there were 5-star reviews. Maybe draw a picture. Like don't just show the negative ones.
Yep,
Say
yep,
that
yep,
you also like show them as well.
yep. But yeah, it's a very interesting way to show the problem right ahead.
Right.
Again, these work as anecdotes. This is one of the best form of anecdotes.
Yeah.
Uh, I can also conduct user interviews that help me empathize more with users. I interviewed around 10 people on their thoughts about the app. The questions revolved around how does the app help in your life? So a bunch of questions, and okay, the questions help in framing pain points of the user, get a deep understanding of the behavior. Uh, yes, and then he's listed down user personas, social
Okay.
networking.
So I'm curious. Like Daniel Cruz. Like is it by choice that this guy is a foreigner? Or is it a general picture? Like, I just want to know that.
Yeah, so you want to localize the context and the
Yes,
content. So,
exactly.
for example, this is
Exactly.
Mumbai, Pune, and Delhi, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay now that I see it. Okay, I'm actually thinking: is he a traveler? Has he
Not
ended up?
sure. Like, yeah, he's
Okay.
traveling the world. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
That's super cool.
Oh,
That's
I
super
like
cool.
how
Like, he
he's.
has thought of it.
He
Yeah,
has
that's
recently
cool
moved to
then.
Mumbai, working on a freelance project. This is
Ah,
great stuff, man.
this is super stuff, right? This is cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a weird feeling about these, these dot kind of things.
Yeah,
I've never been
yeah,
able to
same.
understand them. Uh,
Same.
so I
and
think
the
Aditya
more
and sorry.
like the weirdest part is people using this in their resumes to
Yes,
mention
I was
the
about to say
skills.
that.
exactly, exactly.
Photoshop
Yeah.
four dots. I
Yeah,
don't know what that means.
True. So I think it's safe to not use these, Aditya, because see the problem with some using something like this either on a resume or in fact any other platform, unless and until this is justified as what does five mean and what does one mean. If you could write it, but again, I think it's better to not use this at all because one and five could be subjective, right? I mean, for example,
True.
internet five, like what exactly does it mean? Like,
Hmm.
does it mean he uses internet or he knows internet or
Yeah.
he has internet connectivity? It's not very clear. uh yep. And then again, game shopping and all those things, but overall I think
Yeah.
the like sort of persona is really well done. Goals,
I think
frustration.
just talking in terms of like, proficiency level, beginner, intermediate, pro level, that's good enough. Like you don't have to actually use these dots.
Yep. And now that you say that, you know what? That's actually a very interesting thing as well, Jagrati. I think that I've seen this very less, but generally apps do have like like new users, pro users, like long term
Yeah.
users. They have different groups. So if you're using on a project that's already sort of that already exists, and you do have user segmentation or
Yes.
division of users inside the app, I think it's very interesting to see that being laid out inside the
Hmm.
persona as well. As he has said that this app has already existed, indicator has been around for a very long time and has user base for more than 1 crore users. That's a lot of
Wow.
users. So I
Yeah.
think it should be safe to say that you can come up with uh, user segmentation and talk about how different kind of users have different aspirations from the app. Yeah.
Shiv
uh,
Kumar, nice.
this is nice. What did I learn? Main takeaways. Yeah, I think this is also nice. What did I learn? Right away, like literally bullet points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But please mention what was the sample size, like, because sooner or later, like, even if it was 10 users, 12 users, maybe more, I don't know, like, that information should be very clearly mentioned. What was your
Yeah.
sample size and how did you recruit them? That's very crucial. And actually, it shows a lot about you, like, what was the effort that you put in, because this is something that you would be doing probably on a day-to-day basis when you are doing your job. So
Yep.
I would like to know that can you actually talk to users at random? Did you use guerrilla testing? What is it that you did? Right now, I'm not clear. And this is not just with this case study, but otherwise as well.
Yeah. Then ideate, coming up with features that will satisfy the user's need without degrading function. Solutions. Okay, language, clean UI, notifications, notification access, presets. Okay, so basically talking about things that you've done to improve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think one more thing to see would be what are these solutions based on? Like, were these problems something
Yeah,
that existed already? I mean, you talk about
exactly.
language and then you've written the solution directly, but uh, or maybe clean UI. Wherein the research or wherein the initial sort of steps did you realize that the UI is not clean? Or
Yes.
also, okay, now that I think of it, if he's revamped the design, I would have also liked to see the design somewhere.
Yeah,
Okay, maybe we can see that later on. But yeah, if it was an old app and you created a new UI, probably also show like what the new
yeah.
UI looks like.
So it's the before and the after, right?
Yeah, exactly. If it's like that, if it's a before and after case study, would be interesting to see that as well. In-app notifications. Okay, I think the same goes for all of this as well. Uh,
Actually, I can actually relate to a few things here, because the point where he has shown the app reviews, there
yeah,
I could see language in there, that, like,
was it?
this is a Mumbai based app. Yeah, so
My
if you see
yeah,
yeah, so, like, if you can read this, so like, this person is actually talking about he wants this app in Marathi. And
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know what the sample size is, but, like, I could relate at that point.
yeah. I think this is good. We missed this part. Okay, apology on our part. Uh, okay, so moving on ahead. Uh, Easy menu. I also hope that this he explains these features and how he built them and how did it create a difference.
Hmm.
So if it's a
Yeah,
live
it
app
is.
again, designing and testing, new logo, new splash screen combined. Again, really
Yeah. So there's
love
a
these
call out.
arrows. Yeah, I love the
This
call
is
outs and
really
all
good.
those things that have been put.
Yeah.
Combine the railway station board and the brand mark. together to create a word mark. Okay, language selection screen,
Nice, nice.
screen. Yeah, it's
Good
done
job.
really, it's done really well. Like I
Yeah,
like the
like
visual.
I would like to, yeah, I would like to call him and, at least like know more about his work. This is cool.
Yeah, especially considering that he's a student, this is really good work.
Yeah, this is really good work.
And as we were talking about highlighting parts in the screen, so
Yeah,
if you go down, like I actually saw his highlighting, and he's actually talking about what things are there.
yeah.
Probably I would love to know, like I would love to see a comparison of the what was
Yes,
the old
yes.
thing and the new thing,
Yeah,
because as
Yeah,
he's doing a revamp, it is highly contextual.
yeah,
But like so far, I like it. I really like it. Some gaps in
yeah.
the visuals, but really like it.
Yeah, I mean, like, on the right, if you have this thing, like, this design, there's a call out. On the left, maybe you can show that this is how it was in the
yeah.
previous app, and this is what I've done. Yeah, makes sense.
True.
Right.
Yep. The new search bar in the home screen enables, and also telling what are the things that get done. Search results,
Yeah,
and he shows search, search results and all that. Completely stripping the ads from, I think, yeah, completely stripping the ads from the app is not feasible from a business perspective. I like this
wow,
part. Yeah,
this is cool. This
Mm.
is cool.
I like how he's
I,
put in
Super
an
I,
ad.
cool.
I judged
Yeah,
it too early. I was like, he's saying completely stripping the ads, and I was
this
like,
is
dude,
cool.
maybe this is the only source of revenue they have.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
So
I was
this
like,
shows like that ability to actually think from the perspective of business as well, which is why like somebody would want to hire you, that you're an advocate not just for users but an advocate for the app and the business as well, which is
Yeah,
good point there. Like this is cool.
that's true.
yeah.
Yep, I really like this, man. This is a yeah. I mean, all these experiences should be balanced with like both the business and the user needs. I also like how the ICICI Bank is. I think this is like an actual banner that's come out of somewhere, right? And
Yeah,
I think sometimes, something that we also sort of miss out is we all know that when it comes to things like advertisements and things like that, those are not in our control, and those don't really define, how our design language is. And they're generally a little, different or weird looking. But how the way that he showcased it, with confidence, I really like that as well. That, it's okay.
mm.
This is what the ad would look like. Probably
Yeah,
ICICI needs to work on their app. Then you got the bus screens. Train screens. Okay, these are different segments. Okay. Taxi, ferry, express, auto. These feel a little random. Like,
hmm.
what is
Like what is it, right? Like a little bit
yeah,
of
what,
context would have been nice.
because everywhere else you're showing me more of a flow,
Yeah,
and now I'm not sure. I think these are different menu options that you can sort of reach. Now I
No,
have to
no,
sort
no,
of
no, 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 no.
okay, what is
It's
it?
basically how do you search for if you see the taxi one, you have to enter the
From two.
destination and everything. For ferry, you can't. You just have to pick one. For express, you can, and for auto also you can. So
Okay, okay,
in ferry, you are getting a schedule, and for everyone, for everything else, you are getting a picker.
okay, okay.
Not a very good way to show, but yeah.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I think this could have been like presented better, but yeah, yeah, I understand what it's trying to say. Metro and mono. Not sure what a mono is. Is it like a monorail, right? Probably
Yeah.
monorail. Yeah. Colors and typography. Uh, is it weird to see this at this point of time?
Yeah, it's too late. But not too late, as in I would have placed it somewhere where he
Yep.
placed the splash screen,
yeah.
new splash screen and
Like
logo.
honestly now, and I'll be very honest, maybe, and I don't know this guy by the way. If somebody's listening and says thinking that this guy has given us some bucks, nothing has happened. He has not offered us anything. But I think honestly, the way that he has presented, somehow I probably did not even notice that this part was missing. Like I'm being very honest. So that's a good job, right? Because I
Yeah.
probably did not even notice that he has not like explicitly talked about the typography. But yes, now that I see it, I would see it. I would like to see it a little earlier than this.
Yep.
So,
And Again, yeah, this could have been earlier because this is literally next to the learning section and
Yeah,
then the
this is like
project
a
ends.
very abrupt sanction, but he has actually talked about learnings, which is again like something
Learning.
that we were
Yeah.
talking about, which is super cool.
Yeah. And also, I think now, and you're when you're mentioning this, right? What is the idea of having this section? Did you redefine the colors and typography? And if you did, can you also talk about that? I mean,
Yeah,
what was the need to? Because I'm not sure if this should go in here, but changing the colors and typography itself is a very big project in itself. Like, why did you do that? What was the reason? Maybe if you can't do all of that, maybe just write down a couple of lines about why did this happen. Or if the color and typography has not changed, I mean, I'm not sure if this is something that's just been inherited. You don't need to put it. It's okay. Like
Yeah.
it's okay. You can
yeah,
do without it as well. It's perfectly fine.
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, and then you have learnings. Again, this is something that we've been missing a lot. Finally close.
Yeah, just give a before and after screen, I would say in this case, because it will actually strengthen your case, right? Because if there was something which was not working, and I'm hoping that it would be very drastically different,
Does this
it
answer
would
some
only
question?
like strengthen my case.
So
Yeah.
I think it's great work. Matlab, jo,
Yes, awesome.
that the work this guy has done, Aditya has done. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Only like I felt like if I didn't miss the colors and typography part, like I didn't even
Yeah,
notice it. It's not there.
yeah.
Okay. The only thing is, Aditya. So this is one case study. I would want to see like two, three more, and like you
Hmm.
just have one, and you are starting out, and this makes sense. But it's very good. It's very good. I think not
Yeah.
a lot of uh, comments here.
He's recently updated. This is on 15. Sorry, not updated, uploaded. This is on 15 July. So I think he's recently come on the platform as well. So yeah, this is great work, Aditya. I mean,
Good job.
yeah, expecting to looking. Okay, now I've gone to Behance. Yeah, really looking forward to some more case studies from you. But
Yeah.
this is great work as well. Yeah, cool. Pretty like this one. Do okay. Are we doing one more? Do we have any
I
time?
think we don't have time now,
Hmm. I think we
probably.
can jump on
Uh,
any questions and answers if we have any.
yeah,
Okay, let's
maybe.
stop
Just
this.
one thing, maybe, Sahil, you can talk about that how there were certain portfolios that we saw where there were just screen, like very beautiful screens, but just screens with no context.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is one of the important things as well. Whenever you again that it has all to do with context, guys. Whenever you're trying to design an app, whenever you're trying to design a case study or whatever, you understand it really well, right? You've been working in that environment for a long period of time, but for people who are looking at it for the first for the first time, they have no idea about it. Even if you
Yeah.
have explained the context beforehand, by writing down this is the kind of app that we have, this is the business that they do, or whatever this is, or user goals, when it comes to particular screens, because I'm seeing it for the first time, and that also you're presenting a redesign to me, it's very difficult for me to understand what is the app about, what was there earlier, and what did you actually change. I have no context, like what did you change, what's new. So I think that is something that we would be really interested in looking at. And also these, again, these call outs and all those things are something that really help a lot. If there is a way to accommodate call outs and bits and bytes of information about what did you do in this particular screens, what was the problem point, what did you change, that is also really nice to see. And what that also does is, a lot of people, I've seen this a lot of people have the habit of skipping through all the research and all the things that they do just for the screening purposes, especially the HR and recruiting managers, because they don't have the time, and they don't have the luxury of time. So they'll skip through all of your research, they'll directly jump here and see what is it that you've done.
Uh,
So that is a place wherein this really comes in together. And if you have like explained all the things that you've done really well, I think it really helps a lot. Yeah. Do you
awesome.
guys want to add
Um,
something?
No, I mean just give context. That's all. Like because we were reviewing, so like we couldn't like go through all the entire portfolios that we received. We received a lot of them, but I think these three were like the fair representation of the kind of portfolios that we got. The only
Yeah.
thing that I wanted Sahil to point out also was that just don't give pretty screenshots. There has to be like really good reason for them because you might have actually done a lot of work. So you have to kind of strike a balance between a case study which is very long and doesn't do justice to your design. Like you only have text, and then there's a case study that only has designs. Please find a middle ground, like, so that your process and your design, they get equal justice. So I think,
Yeah.
guys, I'm going to go off the stream now. I'll be on the backstage. Rohan will take up some questions. Thank you so much, Sahil, for joining us today. And
Thanks so
over
much.
to you, Rohan.
Amazing session. I think I think a few questions are there, and will be like closing very soon. So there's a question that says it's from Suesh. He says few complex applications has multiple scenarios where we accomplish a single task in multiple ways. How can we showcase those screens in portfolio? So what he's talking about is, I don't know. He's talk. I don't know. I didn't get the
Few
question
complex
actually.
applications have multiple scenarios where we accomplish a single task in multiple ways. How can we showcase those screens in portfolio? A single complex applications have multiple scenarios. Okay, so for example, in any given case, when an app becomes bigger, there are multiple ways of getting something done. So what you're trying to say is, how do you showcase this in that given task? I think it's pretty simple. I mean, you just list down whatever task that is, and maybe you just show the screen. You can also show the flow itself and talk about how that flow is supposed to work. Again, not very sure of this question, but I can loosely relate to that, and I think that's what I can think of. So yep, I think it works like any other problem. You just write down what exactly is the way to sort of how does the flow work, and then talk about what did you do and what is the expected behavior from that flow. Yeah.
I think, so now I think if he's talking about, let's suppose, one particular task, then it should very much be, done with a problem or a
Yeah.
use case. And then you can show that these are all the touch points from where you can get there. But,
Mhm.
should be associated with a problem itself. We discussed about the context. So it should come from context, and or he can do multiple screens, and he can talk about this all solves this purpose. And I
Yeah.
think that is probably the one way he can. So people are asking about the Notion document. We'll be sharing that. I
I'm
think
getting
there are, sorry.
I'm getting a ring
Yeah,
link to it right now.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
possible.
I think there are a couple more questions, right? Can you check?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it?
that's fine.
I'm gonna
So
generate a
okay,
link.
so Amit has a question. He asks how you guys cope up with self doubt. Well, is this good enough? I think he's talking about, is this good enough to mention in the portfolio, add as a project, or good enough case study? I think he's talking about that. Sahil, how do you do that?
So for me, we also, by the way, did a session on this yesterday. We talked about imposter syndrome and all those things where you self doubt. You can also go and check that link maybe in my YouTube channel. I think Rohan has also shared links to that. Apart from that, when it comes to self doubt, or if imposter syndrome is exactly what you're talking about, that's what I can think of. Generally, what I do is, I'll look at the things that I've done so far previously and how I've been able to reach where I am, and the things that have done while doing that. So that helps me objectively look at all the successes, all the wins, both the wins and the failures that I've had doing all those things. And that helps me feel a little bit comfortable, that helps me feel a little bit confident about the things that I've done so far, and what worked for me, and I will continue doing that. And whatever did not work for me, I can probably look at those things and think of how can I improve those. That is on the imposter syndrome or the behavior side of it. Now, if you're talking about self doubt in like portfolio, I'm not sure. I think that is something that you can validate by you can have like an initial draft or something like that, and then you can just show it to your friends, you can just show it to your colleagues. I've done that a lot. When you start,
Yeah,
don't show like a full-fledged sort of document. Make a quick draft, like a 1 or 2 pager draft, that this is the problem, this is what I'm thinking around. then show it to your friends. If they are able to understand the problem that you're even working on, if it's not a very niche problem and someone from the outside can also understand it, I think it's very good to it's a very good approach to do that as well. Does that make sense? I
Uh,
hope that makes sense.
it does. It totally does. So cool. I think we don't have any more questions as such.
Yeah.
So, we'll share the link. Suggested people from engineering background should do. Okay, so
Both
he's
design.
asking if there's a way for engineers switching to design, showing both their engineering work as well as design work.
Can you like suggest if people from engineering background should do so to include both designing as well as engineering? I'm not sure about the platform and all that he's talking about. If he's talking about making a case study and then putting it and then talking about the things he's done, it's a little confusing. It's okay. Like, I mean, if you're doing both the things, because I've seen a lot of UX engineers, like personally at Gojek also, we have a lot of UX engineers who do the engineering part of it as well as, look after some bits of design. It's okay, but generally it is advisable to have like a clear cut sort of expectation from a case study. For example, if it's targeted at designers, then you'd want to talk about the design aspect of it. If it's targeted at front end or something like that, then it should focus more on those points, which again, it helps the recruiter understand what you're doing better. But otherwise, I think it's perfectly fine to include bits of both the things that you've done and also explain. Again, this all goes in the role itself. Explain the things that you did, because even as product designers, we don't just do visual design. We do UI, UX, user research, a lot of times interaction design, motion design. So it's advisable to look at both the things as well. Is that my
Yeah, I
Wi-Fi?
think I think it was Rohan's screen.
Yeah,
It just froze at a very like peculiar pose. I don't
I
know
was,
what happened.
I was doubting myself.
No, no, it's okay. So thank you so much, Sahil. It was super helpful. I hope like people who tuned in today, they learned something new. I did. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And to those of you who shared your portfolio with us and we couldn't take up your portfolio, don't worry, guys. We really appreciate the fact that you given your portfolio, you actually submitted it for the benefit of everybody to learn. That was amazing. And
Yeah,
thank you so much, Sahil. I think we have Rohan back. I don't
I'm
know.
not
There's
sure.
some issues with his
How
internet.
can I how can I share the Notion link with them? I've shared it with you in the private chat. Can you push it on comments or anything if that's possible? Is that
I would just do it on the, so guys, on the video, on the video, there would be live chat and then there would be actual comments which are there. I would put it on the actual comments as well and in the description as well. So
every?
thank you so much. Rohan, are you there?
Yes, now he's joining.
He is still stuck. I don't know. Okay.
Rohan has
So
connected or not.
it's okay. So thank you so much, Sahil, for joining us today. Thank you,
Yeah,
everybody who tuned in. And we really, really appreciate it. There's going to be more of the events. So I would say stay tuned, guys, to Creative Hustle, Design Sunday, and Design Jungle. And Rohan is here. Thank you so much, guys. Rohan, yeah.
it's perfectly
So
fine. Yeah,
what did I miss? So thank you so much, Sahil. And I think we're done, right? I don't
yeah.
know. I
Yeah,
could
we
miss
are.
some part.
Okay, so
Okay. So it was a very long session, almost 2.5 hours. Thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in, and I hope this session was helpful. Thank you, Sahil. Thank you for doing this
Thank you
session
so
with
much.
us. It was really, really helpful, and
Yeah,
we enjoyed it so so much that we were not ready to stop. But okay, so this is thank you so much from all of us here. So we have a couple of more sessions planned for you guys, and we'll be sharing about that really soon with you guys. Till then, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, stay with your family, and we'll see you next time.
yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
bye,
Bye
guys.
bye.
Bye
Have a great day.
bye.
Bye.